So I'm here to talk about Billy Mitchell, and there's many things related to him. I'm also going to talk about the court case, and basically lots of stuff that I didn't expect to happen happened. Let me give you a short rundown on Billy Mitchell. He's basically a guy who's been holding on to records in Pac-Man and Donkey Kong for the last pretty much 40 years of his entire career.
Joystick, black top.
Is it always a black top?
Never seen anyone but black. Well, no, I have seen other ones. I've never played on one other than a black top. If it wasn't black, I wouldn't have played it.
Why is that?
Because the other joysticks are not real joysticks. They're not Donkey Kong.
With overwhelming evidence that he did cheat in order to even achieve those scores. And he's been holding on to them like they're some kind of trophies that basically defined his life ever since. He's kind of like one of those people who peaked at high school, and ever since they couldn't let go that they were the quarterback of the football team because that's the biggest achievement of their entire life. It's like this kind of pathetic existence where they did something that was interesting at the time, but it shouldn't really define your entire life. And he's held on to it so much because there's really nothing else to him besides that. Yeah, but with his many great achievements, he considers himself among the many greats of society, like Abraham Lincoln, Napoleon, Beethoven, but he's not on their level. He's actually multiple levels above them, because beating Pac-Man apparently makes you even above that, into a god among humanity.
Billy Mitchell, Video Game Player of the Century. I'm here today to celebrate Guinness World Records' unanimous decision to reinstate all of my world records from 1982 to present day. To put it into historical perspective, esports began in 1982, history's first gathering of competitive game players. I was there. My career began. At that event, I had the good fortune of setting a world record on Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong's first kill screen in history. It was an awesome time and a passion that ignited a spirit within me that would forever put me on a journey to be the best.
Anyways, a short physical description of him is, for some reason, his hair kind of fused together to his skull and just doesn't move anymore. The equivalent I would like to compare him to is Lego Anakin Skywalker. Again, put it on his head and just left it there. Yeah, I don't even think his hair actually moves at all of his skeletal structure. At this point, if he dies 500 years later, you'll see that his hair is still perfectly crafted among his skull. That's my belief on it. And he's done multiple lawsuits against many people in the past for defamation and all that. He even once tried to sue Cartoon Network and failed because of that one episode and regular show they made. Like, the amount of times he's been in court, he could probably pass the bar exam just alone by memory of what he's seen in court. It's like his personal experience alone would carry him and make him pass that test at this point. Because half his life he's basically spent in court, fighting against, doing defamation lawsuits against people. But yeah, his whole career reeks of peaked in high school. He never let it go. He'll basically have to look himself in the mirror and realize he's basically nothing without that. He has like a literal house of glass, but instead of throwing a rock at it, you could probably accidentally piss on it and then the entire thing would go down collapsing. Anyways, those were my little subtle jabs at him. Well, they weren't really subtle, but now I'm going to talk about his court case. And against all odds, against everything everybody pretty much believed in, like there was absolutely no reason that anyone thought he should have won, but he did. Even I, back in the day, remember that this court case started, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, and we were clowning on him. And this man, against all freaking odds, has won. So yeah, I'm going to admit it. I was wrong. I was wrong to think that he would lose. Completely and utterly wrong. Like, it was sad how wrong I was, thinking that he was gonna lose and it was just gonna be mopped, and he was just gonna be mopped away in the court like it was nothing. So yeah, you can add me to the list of people who do multi-million-dollar crypto scams to their fans. I now deserve to be put on that list due to being wrong. I basically deserve to be put on that wall of people who scammed their fans purposefully and lied to them. Yeah, that's basically me right there. So anyways, let's get back to topic, which is I was completely against him due to prior information years ago that I heard of, and everybody was. But after recently checking up on the case, I realized that he actually deservedly won. Like, he actually deserved to win, which was the saddest part. Like, saying Billy Mitchell deserves to win, words like that don't really belong in the same sentences together. Those are like antonyms. This is the case of even a broken clock is occasionally right. Even though he's a literal joke of a human being, holding on to what little relevance he has left. So let's begin this complicated story with a guy named Karl Jobst. I think that's how I say it. We thought he was going to be the man to slay the dragon, finally putting an end to Billy Mitchell, one of the most annoying guys in video games ever. We thought it was going to be easy. We thought he was going to be mopped the floor with. We thought it was going to be like Galactus versus Hawkeye, an easy mop of the floor, but it wasn't. From the perspective of pretty much everybody, we thought this case was related to him cheating as well as a few other things. And that's basically what we were told or misled to. And to Karl, he either did such a shitty job telling the fans what the entire thing was actually meant for, or he purposefully lied to us in order to hide the truth of what the lawsuit truly was about. And neither of them are exactly that good in terms of Karl, because he had a pretty much perfect reputation up to that point. So we all thought it was for video games, and that's where we were misled. Whereas Billy Mitchell, he actually told the truth. He actually told us what it was about, which was the surprising part, for the most part. He did add his own little spin to things, but he generally actually said what the trial was truly about, which was surprising. But let's get to something previous before we go back to Billy Mitchell and Karl, which was Billy Mitchell versus Apollo. They had a bit of a fight in court, and later on it was settled privately between both of them. We don't know exactly what they disclosed because only them two really know what happened in that case. And that's the basis of one of the biggest lies for Karl. So Apollo had to delete all his videos on Billy Mitchell, and something else which we can't really say for sure what happened. The only person left alive knowing is Billy. And the reason for that is because Apollo eventually made an explanation telling people that he was going to take away his, and sadly, rest in peace, he did take away his life, and his life is over. So I'm quickly going to put what he stated up in the video and read it to you, just because out of respect to someone who... I love you all. Thank you to Dark Viper and Easyscape for giving me the final push I needed. I tried to hold myself back in the full video, but I can't help it. People have no clue what I deal with every day. When I was about 5 years old, my dad threw me on the ground, covered my mouth and nose to where I couldn't breathe, and screamed into my face because I wanted to play some game that he was playing. And that's how he treated us every day. I couldn't even tell the story without crying until I was 18 or so. I have scoliosis, which causes my back, hips, and shoulders to ache constantly. I'm sick every day. I throw up often. My medicine makes me vomit, but then if I don't take it, I vomit. My body is completely useless. I can't do anything. I'm completely out of my mind. All my thoughts are so painful and aggravating because I'm mentally ill. Everything I say online gets used to make me look like a bad person. I'm not a bad person. I'm under incredible stress. Try living with as much pain, and let's see the decisions you make. The only stuff I'm comfortable talking about there is more that's even worse. The speedrun community are such hypocrites. They pretend to care so much about everyone's feelings, then on the same video they call you retarded scum. I know I expose people for cheating, but I never said anything like that. They tell me they agree with me privately, then publicly betray me. If I complained about my life all the time, then I bet they'd see me as relatable. But because I tried to push through it and act normal, they hate me. My greatest thanks to Tom, Jonas, Nick, Brad, Sanfluro, Tipster, and Keem for being great friends, even if I didn't always give you a reason. So yeah, God bless his soul. I hope his family is doing fine. and I hope that everyone there is doing fine. If anybody needs help like this, I'll put this up. I'll tell you, there's a number called 988, and they can help with suicide prevention. It's not necessarily the best way to go at it. The best way is to go to a friend or adult you trust and talk to them about it and really see if they can help you. But if you have nobody else, please go to that number. Anyways, I'm going to go back to talking about the video. But Karl's statement was that Apollo had many financial problems, after which he was made to do extra work on the side in order to get money, and later, that was a small part of the reason why he committed suicide, and he's not alive anymore. So the whole basis of this lawsuit was that Billy got mad at that one statement, which is, while he didn't directly state it, he basically alluded to the fact that Billy Mitchell was either partially or fully responsible for Apollo killing himself, which is what this entire lawsuit was based off of in the first place. And nobody knew that. Not a single person knew that at the time when it was happening. So this was the entire reason for Billy's defamation case, which is a lot of people actually believed that Billy Mitchell was responsible for Apollo's death, which actually did hurt his reputation, because even I have seen people saying Billy Mitchell was responsible for it. Even though it was far later on, I have to admit, I did see people thinking that. And that's the biggest part of this entire lawsuit. And sadly, Karl, with his perfect reputation, doesn't do much to really improve it or help his case out by apologizing for accidentally stating that. He should have made a redaction. He really should have went public with the fact that he accidentally said that and he was wrong and he shouldn't have done that. And this is the part where Karl's perfect image crumbles. From someone who found out many cheaters, exposed many people in the past, exposed them for all their wrongdoings, eventually started doing a few things that others have done before. So Karl later started a GoFundMe for $200,000. Due to the popularity, his fans, and so many people being on his side, he basically got that money because of all the popularity. Because remember, people like Moist Critical were talking about it. Everyone was talking about it at the time. It was that big. So there was Karl. We thought he was Mike Tyson at his prime, about to eat his opponent up. About to eat his opponent and show them who's the real boss. And recently, Billy Mitchell has dropped 3 videos, kind of basking in his glory for the win. And to be honest, he actually does deserve it. He won the case, which was the surprising part of the whole thing. Billy Mitchell doesn't deserve to win a lot of things, but this is one of the few times I wholeheartedly believe he should have won. So throughout this whole thing, Karl was actually his own worst enemy. Rather than Billy Mitchell destroying Billy Mitchell, Karl destroyed Karl, and Billy Mitchell was just on the sidelines using Karl's own words against him. All Mitchell did was pull out a gun do Uchiha reflection on Karl, and he took it full force, head on, without any protection, and got destroyed by it. So yeah, I have some footage of the judge talking, and I'm gonna also show it real soon. And to talk about this, it doesn't really abstain Billy from criticism or really make him look any better. Overall, it's just one of the cases where he was the correct one. He deserved to win. And even though, personally, I don't like him, I agree that he had to win. He was the one who deserved to win, and he had every right to be the winner of that case. And I remember there was one video Karl made where he said he was gonna make 100 videos rubbing it in Billy's face. And I believe at this point, Billy Mitchell is gonna make 100 videos on Karl rubbing it in his face instead. Because now he's using his own words against Karl as well. Which is, he can make 100 videos, never letting Karl live down the fact that he was the one to lose. Everyone else won their cases, or had it dismissed. Except Karl. Karl was the loser in pretty much everything, which is the sad part of the whole thing.
End of story. You know I always win.
3 simultaneous lawsuits. The first one had already cost $200,000 in the first year alone. So if Billy filed the second and third lawsuits, there was no way I could afford to defend myself.
You created a GoFundMe campaign with the knowledge and intent
to fund the existing lawsuit on false premises. Period. End of paragraph.
Seems to see himself in defending this claim as a crusader against Mr. Mitchell. He is the last of the defendants who have been sued by Mr. Mitchell, and the only one, apart from Mr. Race, who has not backed down. Even in February 2024, as this action was progressing toward trial, he said in an online interview, quote, "Billy Mitchell needs to be destroyed in court. These people need to be punished in a big way before they stop. They need to get taught a lesson. So I am now the last chance. I am the last chance the public has to punish Billy. And also, the last person on YouTube you want to lose to is me. You know there's going to be 100 vids rubbing it in. I will never let Billy forget this, assuming I win. I've got to win first, but man, if I win, oh boy, I'm not going to be a good winner." End quote. Mr. Jobs clearly intended to be the knight who slew the Mitchell dragon. Unfortunately for him, his lance was not as strong as he believed it to be. And it has broken in the contest. I have found that Mr. Jobst was reckless in making the allegations. His assertions were based on a fallacy, namely that Apollo Legend had paid Mr. Mitchell a large sum of money. That was simply wrong, and he had no reasonable basis for asserting it. Yet even after finding out the truth, he has continued to assert that the settlement had a negative financial impact on Apollo Legend, and that he still believes that the settlement was a contributing factor to his decision to commit suicide. Mr. Jobst was also reckless and vindictive in publishing the full video twice. At the time he republished it, he had been told by Mr. Mitchell via his response video, by their mutual acquaintance Keemstar, and by Mr. Mitchell's lawyers that what he had said about the payment was not true, but he nevertheless decided to republish the entire video regardless. In his evidence, he said that he did this because he thought Mr. Mitchell would sue him anyway. His attitude appears to have been, well, if I'm going to be sued, I may as well go for broke and damn the consequences. It was reckless and showed an absolute disregard for the truth or for the effect of his video on Mr. Mitchell and his reputation.
So if this proves anything, it's that some people, even though we think they're perfect and amazing, can either make mistakes or outright lie. This doesn't make everything Karl's done in his career illegitimate or make all his accomplishments worth nothing. All it does is hurt his credibility, showing that he got too comfortable at the top. He got too comfortable throwing punches at everybody and always being correct. And then when it was his turn to take a punch, it pretty much destroyed him because he's never had backlash like this before. And it hurt him real badly. Like, I think his viewership was cut in half because of all. The best way for him to improve is just to acknowledge his mistakes. Go on, even though he has many people that aren't gonna trust him anymore. He has to do his best to gain legitimacy again, even if it isn't with his entire fan base anymore. But yeah, not all heroes wear capes. Some wear Anakin Skywalker's hair painted black on their head, and kind of ugly ties. Also, I'm at 84 subs and I'm really happy about that, so do whatever you want, and thank you guys.
End of story. You know I always win.